time, your contribution on our social media platforms. We are seeing comments coming in from almost every corner of this country and also overseas. Thank you so much for being part of our program. Every weekday from the hour of 6:30, we are here to ensure you're well versed with what is happening. We shape the discussions of the day. So you want to fit in any reasonable discussion, you want to be very knowledgeable, begin your day with us here in Good Morning Uganda. And this is Good Morning Uganda Extra, an extension of Good Morning Uganda. Once again, I'm Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono. Now, today I'm going to be dealing with the science. I know when we talk about science, many people away from the science teachers, many are science again. And more complicated, we are going to be talking about biosafety. Now, in relation to the coming 5th annual, Biosafety Forum, that will be building on experiences and, of course, success in this sector. And joining me on set is Dr. Martin P. Ongolo, who happens to be, that is the Executive Secretary of the Uganda National Council for Science and Technology. So I'm having a scientist at no doubt with me in studios. Doctor, you're most welcome.
Thank you.
And Doctor, to begin with, let's first break down the word biosafety in a layman's language. I know you scientists, you have these complicated terms, but please, in a layman's language, because not only scientists are watching us this morning.
Sure. Good morning, viewers, and I would like to thank our moderator and, of course, Uganda Broadcasting Corporation for giving us this opportunity to talk about science this morning, and especially in relation to the forthcoming Biosafety Forum, which is going to start next day. So when we talk about biosafety, so we are talking about generally living materials, or actually parts of living materials, or it could be something that has come out of a living material. So when we talk about a living material, it can be a plant, it can be an animal, it can be a germ, those tiny things like microorganisms and the like. And you know that on the earth there are two things. There are, of course, the non-living and the living materials. Now, some of these materials or living things may actually cause harm, not only to humans, but probably to animals, maybe to the plants, maybe to the environment. So now we are talking about making sure that some of the biological material, these living things that probably we may use or they may exist in our environment, and especially when it comes to research and trying to make new products, these things are very safe. Either it is safe for consumption, or it can be something which is safe to be used as a medicine for treatment of diseases or vaccine and the like, or maybe to be used in the environment or whatever circumstance it is. So we are talking about biosafety. And sometimes even when we go deeper, we even get into aspects known as biosecurity to make sure that we protect our environment very nicely. A very good example I can give is like when you're having like a poultry farm of like maybe 50,000 birds and the like, and you don't want them to be infected with diseases and then you lose them all of a sudden. So what you try to do, you try to make sure that you put a very good security to make sure that there is no harm from anything that is coming from a living organism. So basically, that's an overview that I can present in layman's term. Yeah.
Now, what is its relevance to an ordinary person? I hear from you people who are in the lab researching here and there. Why would biosafety be something that I should consider so much in my day-to-day life?
Yeah, actually, in the day-to-day life, biosafety is very, very important. especially, for instance, even when we look at, for instance, the food that we eat, definitely they contain some germs or so. And so with our national system, probably in the Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Health, we just have to ensure that the food is safe. And then, of course, now with advances in technology, some of the medical products that are developed actually developed based on biological materials, and actually these have to be, we have to ensure that it's very, very safe. And of course, you have heard about other things like, for instance, transmission of diseases from animals to humans and the like. And like here in Uganda, we have also had several outbreaks of diseases like Marburg, Ebola, COVID, and the like. All these things in one way or another is something that a citizen has to be concerned with in terms of biosafety. Yeah, thank you.
Now, looking at this year's theme, which is Science, Technology, Innovation, and Regulation for Sustainable Industrialization in Uganda, why this theme at such a time? Because, you know, every year you come up with a theme.
Sure.
With the 5th annual, that is Biosafety Forum. Why did you choose this? Please, let's dissect more regarding this year's theme.
Okay. Yeah, so we chose this year's theme, focusing on sustainable industrialization. And as you are aware, we have our strategic development agenda, and the parent one is actually Vision 2040, which actually looks at the transformation of our society from a peasant to a modern and prosperous country. And of course, now we are almost in the middle of implementation of the National Development Plan, the 3rd phase. And one of the key agenda is on industrialization. And why we have got through is especially we are trying to look at things like what we call biotechnological applications and how it can support our industrialization process such that our economy grows faster. We get this economic transformation of the country. And we are looking at things like ways of like improving agricultural productivity, developing new technologies in medicine and the like that can support the industrialization process. But the key is that as we go through this industrialization process, we also want to make sure that it's sustainable, and we also look at the biosafety aspects. And I think one area that we are looking at very critically, of course, is on our regulations in terms of the biotechnology bill, which has hung on for a very long period of time. UNCST started, UNCST is Uganda National Council for Science and Technology, where I come from, and we have been trying to work on the biotechnology regulations since 2009, and until to date, the regulations have not been passed. So we are thinking that we should get together and discuss further and see how we can also improve on these regulations. Why do you want these regulations to come out is because we have our scientists who have done quite a tremendous job from the National Agricultural Research Organization. You have heard His Excellency talking about that if wheat becomes expensive, what we need to consume is cassava. And our researchers have done very good work on cassava, especially to develop disease-resistant cassava varieties. And it's almost at the last stage, and the key aspect which is there is the regulations, which is...
so the regulations are hindering this breakthroughs in the world of science?
Yes, especially now. We have actually got the breakthrough in the world of science. our scientists, especially those who are working on the cassava, and like I think they are at the cutting edge in their fields, and they have developed these crop varieties. They are doing well, but now there's that aspect now that we need to move from the laboratory, from the research farms, and then now bring these commodities to the community and to help us either for industrial applications or for food security and the like. And another crop which also has been worked on is the pro-vitamin A. So just to make the science much more simpler is that there are some nutrients, some things in the food that we need to get on a daily basis, and one of them is actually what we call pro-vitamin A. Of course, when it is in the body, it's vitamin A. And actually, we have the deficiency in our country. And that's why NARO chose it as something that can really improve the nutritional status of the Ugandan community. And then, of course, also in the medical field, we have research which is about to start. Especially the Joint Clinical Research Center. They want to use a technique which is known as gene therapy. So gene therapy is a technique where they can do some bit of what they call gene transplantation into a human body, and it can help to cure diseases. And one of the things that they want to work on is like on the sickle cell anemia, which is very difficult to treat, because look at it from the perspective of this person who is in a rural area, very far from the hospital, but then with a disease like sickle cell anemia, you will need to be very close to the medical.
And they can't even ever dream of a bone marrow transplant.
Because
that would cost them a fortune, which they can't have.
You are spot on. So, but using some of these techniques, they are very cost effective, and they are safe. They have been tried to a certain extent, and we want to see how Uganda can start also getting into this research, because sickle cell is basically a disease which is more towards an African than probably an Asian or a European and the like. It's something which is quite common in Africa. And then, of course, there are other things that we are trying to also work on. There is the tick. So you know that the tick is a big problem in the cattle production in Uganda. And of course, the ticks have become very resistant to acaricides, and they have very unique survival techniques. They can stay for even more than 2 or 3 years without food and the like, just waiting for the right time to get into the animal. But of course, there are these tick-borne diseases, and of course, the tick itself affects the productivity of cows. And now, the National Agricultural Research Organization, NARO, is trying to work on an anti-tick vaccine. And also Makerere University, the College of Veterinary Medicine and Biosecurity is also working on anti-tick vaccine, and they're actually linking up with the private sector to develop a production facility. However, we have to make sure that the whole process is handled in a safe way. And those are some of the things that actually will improve to our industrialization.
Doctor, with all these seemingly breakthroughs or work in progress, what is delaying this regulation? Most of the times we hear politicians, I want to say, peep in this, bring in that. Is it lack of knowledge? Is it fear of the unknown? Where is the problem?
Yeah, of course, partly you are right. And I think I would like to start with the first, what you mentioned last, of course, the fear of the unknown. Yeah, so when you look at science, what we say true science or high quality science, science itself, it's unpredictable when it comes to research and development. So you may get what you want through the research process, or you may not get through what you want through the research process. And because of that, it's always that there is something new. And when people always hear that there is something new, even just like in a normal environment, if probably you hear that there is a new boss coming, you will try to shake a bit or something of that kind. So there is also the fear of the unknown. But that Uganda National Council for Science and Technology, through its regulatory mechanisms and also in collaboration with our counterparts like the National Environment Management Authority, National Drug Authority, Uganda National Health Research Organization, and of course with UNCST being at the forefront, we have developed a very strong regulatory framework which actually eliminates that bit of the error of the fear of unknown. And of course, I will be talking more about that in our workshop, in our forum. And then when it comes to actually the politicians, I wouldn't blame the politicians, because actually the politicians represent their communities, and of course what I've just explained to you would be the same that I would explain to them. And what's very important is like they would really wish that their community are very prosperous. Yeah, but I think what is quite important is just to make sure that our regulatory system caters right from the concept development and actually when it gets into the public and for it to be applied. So I know that one of the biggest problems is that some sectors of the community and using facts which are not true, they scare the politicians.
The politicians.
Yeah, and I call it a scare because when we try to look at some of the things that they put forward, the truth behind it, the fact behind it, the science behind it, the evidence behind it is quite weak. So with this care, then of course, then the politicians now get frightened, say, oh, maybe what's going to get to the citizens may not be the best. But of course, through this forum, we want to have a very good understanding and a framework, and we shall say that, okay, the best path that we are going to follow is that we are going to follow what is known as science-based, evidence-based, very consultative, and all the details or what needs to be understood by the ecosystem is well done. Because otherwise, a lot of people will benefit from our resources.
Very interesting. Well, we are talking science this morning, and that is biosafety in relation to the coming 5th Annual National Biosafety Forum. And with me in studios is Dr. Martin P. Ongol, who happens to be, that is the Executive Secretary, Uganda National Council for Science and Technology. Now, we shall take a break, and when we return, we'll be discussing more regarding the forum. Who is meant to attend? What are the objectives? What are the outcomes? And how will they benefit the scientists, but also the ordinary person? As we know now, it is all about science. That is what the world is yearning for, to make these innovations, to solve a number of problems that are facing us, more so in the field of health. We'll return shortly.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Even with my grandson, a doctor at my side, I struggled to get the help I needed. But he saw something that day. He began to work day and night. He wouldn't quit, even when people said no. he wouldn't stop fighting. He knew something had to change, and his vision was bigger than anyone could imagine. He made it possible to receive quality medical services anywhere in Uganda by simply using a phone.
This is a story of a regular Ugandan just like you, who harnessed the power of technology to provide a solution for us. How about you tell us your story? UG needs more of you. To share your story, visit airtel.co.ug/UG needs more of you, or call or SMS 162. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Football packages, great entertainment,
Sports, the local content, telenovela, the movies.
there is something for everybody.
Go TV, this is where the stories live.
Get the best entertainment for any budget. With GoTV, you will have great entertainment for as little as 13,000 Ugandan shillings per month. GoTV, great stories, Zidiwano. GoTV Uganda, love it.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by Show them Waka with MTN Mama Nyabo. Simply deposit 20K or more on your mobile money for a chance to win 3 Toyota Succeeds and money to 2,000 lucky winners every week. We're giving away 24 cars and over 2 billion shillings of mobile money.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. It is still Good Morning Uganda Extra. I'm Robert Chirabo Nyonyitono, and with me I have the Executive Secretary, Uganda National Council for Science and Technology. That is Dr. Martin P. Ongoro, with whom we are discussing issues of biosafety, more so in regards to tomorrow's, that is the National Biosafety Forum that is going to be running from tomorrow till Thursday. Now, Doctor, what is the objective? What are the objectives of this forum? We know when we hear annual, it means every year it happens, but specifically this time, what do you want to communicate? What do you want to discuss, and how do we stand to benefit?
Okay, thanks. So the objective of this forum on biosafety is actually to bring in all stakeholders in the science, technology, and innovation arena. And when we talk about the stakeholders, we are talking about the political leadership, we are talking about parliamentarians, scientists, researchers, the media like you, regulatory agencies, other organizations like pharma organizations, the private sector, and the like. And we want to sit under one roof and really see where are we in terms of biosafety and biosecurity. And on the aspect of biosecurity, we shall be working very closely also with the Ministry of Health. We have also invited them to this forum. And after getting to know that, what are our strengths, our weaknesses, and what other opportunities are there, and after that recalibration process, then we expect to get a roadmap on the way forward, but at least at that particular time, we know that we are all at the same page. Even if we could be at different pages, but at least we know exactly what the different page is, and therefore we can have very meaningful engagement in the future. And of course, also to showcase the new stature that the science and technology and innovation sector has taken, especially on key emerging issues like the pathogen economy and of course the industrial value chains, which under the leadership of Dr. Monica Musenero, we are also trying to advance it further. So basically, that's the overall objective. And the outcome is that there are certain things which have pended for so long, like the Genetic Engineering and Regulations Act. We shall get a very clear picture.
Well, you're opening a can of worms there.
Yeah,
it's
it's
engineering. It's a can of worms. I just remember that debate, and I'm like, oh God.
Yes.
Will we have a breakthrough? Should we totally lay it to rest? And now here you're talking about the same.
Yeah, we cannot lay it to rest because for us to lay it to rest, we need to make sure that we have had a very surgical outlook and in-depth evaluation of that regulation. Because what's happening is that it's holding the country back. And then on top of that, that regulation was developed over like about a 10-year period and the like. But then of recent, very new technologies have come, which are better, which are safer, and which are much more...
So which address some of the fears?
Which
like
address...
farmers saying, well, your maize from this garden is going to be contaminated.
Sure,
then you have to compensate. There's a lot of technicalities we would read, analyze, and you end up confused within the entire thing.
Yeah, that's very true. And of course, those issues of farmers, like their control over seed, the control over indigenous knowledge, and then the benefit sharing of what would come out of biotechnology and the like. Those are the things that we would like to discuss into detail and make sure that when we are moving, it's just that we are moving in a very safe and secure way. I would just give that example of a driver in a Kampala. You have the traffic light, either it's green, red, or orange. You have border getting in front of you. You have pedestrians. You have other drivers that may not follow the rules and the like. But all this can be sorted out, and then we move ahead in terms of our development. Because one technique that has come up very recently is what is known as gene editing, where it's just like you just remove a very small bit of a gene, but then that reorganization is bringing a lot of changes, especially in the productivity, let's say in the crop area and the like. And incidentally, the other previous technologies were actually controlled by the big companies and the like. But now the number of small companies that are benefiting from this is a lot. Yeah, and I can even tell you some very practical examples. Like, for instance, there's what we call cultured products. These are like fermented products and the like. And even when we look at the beer which we like and the like, and the yeast that is being used and the like, most of this yeast has been modified and the like. And that brings me to another point in that there is a difference also between the organism and the product. You may not like the organism, the living material, but you might like the product. And that's what happens. Like, for instance, the piggery industry, the poultry industry, the animal feed industry. If you move around Kampala or in most of these animal feeds, they will say that they are concentrates that we are using. But then those concentrates, actually, most of them are produced using biotechnological process. And they are quite expensive. Yeah, so why don't we take also that opportunity? Otherwise, if we have a very prohibitive law, we might be holding ourselves against development, and then we may be importing a lot into the country. So the issue is that those concerns are there. Let's look for a way of navigating it in a very safe and, of course, in a way that each and every sector or aspect or society or a focal group understands and have a very good, clear way forward. So it's a can of worms, and I always believe that when you see the worms, then it's even better, other than closing the can the worm in the can. So it will be like you have a thorn on your foot, and it's always paining, and then you say, no, I don't want to pluck it out, but I think we need to pluck it out and then see what happens.
I just love the word safe.
Yeah.
Because, for us, everything we hear, these innovations here and there, the first thing runs is safety. And we are talking about the Biosafety Forum that is starting tomorrow. Now, on this forum, you've talked about a number of stakeholders that have been invited to attend. How is participation? Is it physical? Is it virtually? COVID taught us a lot of things. That this time our conference is there and all about 3 or 4. The rest you can follow. So how is attendance like?
Yeah, the attendance is going to be hybrid. Yeah, so it's going to be physical attendance, which will take place in the Kampala Serena Hotel. But also there's going to be a virtual and online presentation. And then, and of course, we have shared the links. Probably you can check on the Uganda National Council for Science and Technology, Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. But also some of the presenters that we have are also going to present online. And we are going to have the CEO of the Kenya Biosafety Authority. With them, they have gone ahead in terms of their regulations. I think they have allowed production of GM cotton and a few areas here and there. We are also going to have a presentation from the Executive Director of the Nigerian Biosafety Authority, because with them, they have accepted a few GM crops, I think cassava, cowpea, and the like. So it will be very interactive. And of course, I would encourage the viewers or those who would be participating online to always put their comments on the chat. Some of those will be raised directly also to those in physical attendance, but also that information will be captured and analyzed, and there will be a feedback. Thank you.
Well, Doctor, let me have your parting shots regarding that is the forum that is beginning tomorrow, but also some bit on biosafety, where many Ugandans know much, yet know little.
Okay. Yeah, so biosafety is just to make sure that the biological materials or organisms that we are interacting with and the like is safe. And what I just want to say is that Uganda National Council for Science and Technology and the Ugandan government at large have a strong regulatory mechanism to ensure that actually genetically engineered or modified crops and the like or materials are actually safe. And I would like to say that some of these materials that we fear are much more safer than a chapati that you get on the street, or actually some of those street foods. You'll find out that for us, or the system that is in place actually ensures that we are accountable in terms of the safety of biotechnological products. And the biotechnology is the way to also make our country grow, and then we achieve that transformation towards industrialization and change from a peasant to a modern and prosperous country by 2040. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Martin P. Ongor, who happens to be the Executive Secretary, Uganda National Council for Science and Technology. We wish you a fruitful deliberations at this forum, and we are eager that the outcomes, most are more interested in the area of regulation. Just like you've mentioned, we are missing out on a lot because of fear of the unknown, and yet this will make major breakthroughs in our country. Have a lovely day. God bless you. Stay safe. Don't forget COVID is with us. Don't forget to social distance. Don't forget your mask. But above all, kindly go for vaccination. Ensure you're vaccinated. If you had your first jab, go for the second. And if you're above 50 or have comorbidities, go and get those booster doses. Vaccines are safe. I was vaccinated. Millions of Ugandans have gotten vaccinated. And here we are. So let no one confuse you. Go and get that vaccination. God bless you. See you tomorrow, God willing.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.